3, 2, 1, go. Welcome to Grounds After Rounds.
Well, we're in it as you search for your joke.
I got one.
Welcome, folks. You will notice the tenor and depth. What is it? Is it tenor? Pitch?
Tenor and tone.
Pitch.
Tenor and pitch.
Yeah. Of Eric's voice has changed a bit.
I'm a little higher.
Oh, geez. The great and wonderful Shelley O is with us this week. So thank you for stepping in and making it so I don't have to sit in front of this camera and just talk to people.
My pleasure.
It would have felt a bit too much like the 5 a.m. class.
Oh, ouch.
I only say that because you're here.
Yeah, that was a little accurate there.
Today especially though, but it was okay. Like today, you guys were just sore and tired.
Yes.
And I totally was like, okay,
Yeah.
don't pick on them.
Yeah.
Like, let's just move. And it worked. Like
It did.
It
And
got,
we all felt so much better after the workout, but
yes,
it was rough.
It wasn't like, sometimes I think what I've come to realize is my trigger that gets me frustrated is like the and this may play well into the, pivot into the question we're going to explore, but the like, oh, is this going to be hard? Or, oh, I don't want to, right? So like,
Right.
And I'll classify it as complaining, but we all do it. I do it too. That gets me because it's like, look, it's going to be hard. Like
It's always hard.
Like,
When is it not hard?
what do you want me to tell you? Like, you could be Rich Froning and it's hard. Like it hurts when he does it, but that's why we do it. But it doesn't have to be injury causing or painful, but like, trust the process. You've done this before. And then oftentimes, Nicole is one, Joan sometimes will say it. Who else? Luis and I talk, they're like, hey man, it's just part of my process. Like, I got to get through it. I'll kind of, he doesn't actually come, but like, some of the other folks, like that's part of their emotional warm up too.
It is.
To kind of get into it.
And you're going from a dead sleep to
right. You guys
trying to move.
Yeah.
In like a 30-minute time frame.
So I saw that today and I was like, I chuckled a little bit inside. And so I was like, there was no anger or animosity. It was just like, oh, okay. They'll get there. We'll be all right.
Just takes a little time.
6 a.m. was offended that I called them 7 a.m. when we started. So of course I doubled down and I said, well, I mean, 7 a.m. is my favorite class. And I think maybe
we know it's 5, so you can say whatever you want to anybody else, but we know it's 5.
I think it's because the sun has finally come up with 7 a.m. and it's like, oh, okay, it's normal daytime.
Yeah.
Like it's not still, I mean, when you guys leave, the sun is up, but it's still really early.
Still really early. I know. And our coffee maker didn't work today. So we had no coffee before we came. So it was,
you need a John on the back.
It was rough.
You need to have like the little Via Starbucks Vias
we need
as
something.
like an emergency. Just dump it in the cup, shake it in hot water and chug it down.
That's what we need, because I really thought, so stupid of me, I really thought that he was going to reset it and we were going to wait for that first cup of coffee. And he said, well, guess we're going without it. And I was like,
whoa, time out, dude.
No, yeah.
We're not taking Iraq. Like,
No.
It's okay. They'll wait.
No, had to come. No coffee, just
Oh,
water.
man.
I know.
Storming the beaches.
It was rough.
John, I stormed the beaches, O'Neill.
Yeah, without coffee,
Without
which
coffee.
is shocking to me.
That kind of makes me think emotionally how you must have been a little fatigued. I went to my therapist the other day and she said, so what brings you in today? And I said, I have this terrible fear of tsunamis. And she went, is it really bad? I said, oh, it comes in waves.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, I have
well placed right into it.
I have a little bit of a Father's Day thing. I'm thinking about Father's Day. And so in that spirit, I don't, knock, knock.
Who's there?
Omelet.
Omelet who?
I'm gonna let you sleep in on Father's Day.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Punchline.
Punchline new.
I'm a little bit of a disappointment.
Okay, that was accurate. True. I was a little caught off guard on my jokes today. I'll
That's
come
all right.
back.
This is, I mean, sure, but this was, yeah, we little change in schedule. So
I'll come back with a better one someday.
Shelley jumped in, but I went out because it's always Eric's job to come up with the ideas, and so I thought, well, let's keep outsourcing it. So I walked in and I was like, hey, to Nicole, I was like, Shelley's coming on the podcast. Give me some ideas, and she's like, I'm not your audience. I was like, well, imagine you are. Like, imagine what would you want to hear?
What would you want to know?
Yeah, and she's like, all right, whatever, I'll think about it. So I go out on the dog, but she texted me before she left. She's heading into Virginia to go visit her friend, her best friend. But she came back with a really good one, and I think it was very apropos of stuff we've talked about recently. Both of us have kind of like at various times in the last 3 or 4 months, kind of like dealing with injuries. That is this an injury, or is it just I'm working too hard? Is it something I need to look at, or can I send my spouse to get the doctor to look at their stuff?
And I looked up on the internet, and you know that doctor may have been right.
I'm gonna say, so Charlie and I have had the same cough for like the last 6 weeks. So when he went to the vet and he got the medicine, I'm taking
You're
Charlie's
taking it
medicine.
too. Excellent. Well done.
Mr. What is it? It's that Seinfeld episode. Mr. Scuppers or something, or Mr.
I can't
whatever.
remember the name, but yeah.
So the question is today that we're going to explore: when do you listen to your body and take it easy? Which we always say, right? Like, if it hurts, we can motion is lotion. We'll work through it. But like, listen to your body. Versus when are you simply avoiding doing hard things? And we both kind of went, oh, yeah, I don't know. So I thought we would break it down into kind of 3 categories, because we also last week talked about new people coming in, which was awesome that you were able to utilize our discussion in real professional time. But you've got sort of new athletes. Maybe they're not new to being an athlete. They've worked out, they've gone to the gym, they used to play college sports or whatever, but they're new to here at CrossFit. And the first time you make them do 7 minutes of 7 wall balls and 7 burpees, everyone's like, what is that? I mean, it's designed to be an intense workout in the sense of its high power output. So they feel intensity and they're like, oh God, that was really hard. So newbies new people haven't been doing this for more than about 2, 3, under 6 months.
Okay.
Then we've got our category of people 6 months to about a year. And I do think after that, there is a weird thing that happens right about that 6-month mark that transitions people into a different category. And then there's another thing that kind of happens at about the year mark. After that, the journey ebbs and flows and it's weird. And so I would say anything longer, we'll call them long-time CrossFitters, okay. Anybody who's been doing it consistently for longer than a year. Even if they've taken time off and come back, it all comes back.
But they've got experience under their belt.
You got it. And that experience is the variance, the intensity, the idea of when I go too hard, have I gone too hard in the sense of I've caused myself injury or I'm just overtraining? So we'll look at it kind of in that linear sequence. Newbies, 6 months to a year, longer than a year. But I think if we jump around, we're okay.
Okay.
So, I mean, you kind of experienced all 3 of those timeframes.
Well, I think that almost the newbie is the easiest one to talk about because, first of all, it's all overwhelming. Everything's hard.
Yeah.
Everything's hard for everybody all the time. But if you're coming in as a brand new CrossFitter, and particularly if you come into a class that's got longtime CrossFitters, if you're at all trying to keep up with what's going on in the class, it is daunting. And I think it's really hard to not have your ego creep in and say, I don't want to be the last one. I don't want what feels like a pity clap at the end, which it's not, but it feels as though it's a pity clap. So should I not come on days when they have burpees? Because I'm so slow with my burpees.
Which Sally and I have a formal petition. I filed it with the state of Maryland. They're going to see, take it to federal level CrossFit. We're going to rename burpees Flurpees because it's just fun to say.
It's much more fun than burpees.
And if you think about it, mean, we're all flirting anyway.
Yeah,
flopping
we're
on the
flopping
floor.
on the
We're
floor.
flopping back up. And
Yep.
so, I mean, it's a
I-
much better movement.
I think we should patent that.
Yeah. And she said saying that definitely helped de-escalate the rage and anger around burpees.
Yeah, because that's one of those movements that crushes people. So I think I think as a newbie, you have to be really willing to just be the new person. But I don't know. How do you tell them?
Yeah.
You're going too heavy. You're going too fast. You shouldn't do this distance yet.
I think the ego part of it is I agree. I've actually, I'll hijack my gratitude for now. I did this last week too, but the foundations folks we've gotten in the last 2 or 3 times. So Jay, most recently, Summer now, Juliette going through, Julie even a couple times before that. Totally different. I don't know if it's like post-COVID or we're lucky and we've just gotten some really awesome people. Zero ego.
That's
right.
awesome.
Like, so, I mean, even Juliana had done CrossFit before and she just jumped right in and was like, hey, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to need to scale the crap out of this stuff. Like, all I want to do, I just want to move better. I don't want to get hurt. And like, she laid it out, not in a way of, I don't want to go hard, but in a way of, I've done this before. I'm willing to come at it with a beginner's mind, but I also want you to know that I know that I'm not who I was when I was this other athlete.
That's a real gift because that's taking the experience of the longtime CrossFitter, but applying
a newbie's kind of beginner mindset. And she's been awesome. Like and Julie was the same way. Jay recently, who was an amazing mover. I'm going to take credit for his double unders today. He got double unders, first time jumping a rope. I didn't really do it. His wrists are so fast.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and he jumps like very smoothly. But then, of course, as soon as you try to start stringing them together, that's the chewing gum and walking. But again, he picked it up. So I'm an amazing coach.
You really are, although I don't have him yet. And I've been here a long time and you're my coach. But that's a whole story for another podcast.
And his full depth squat, right? Like great mover who, again, self-expressed like, hey man, I know conditioning is going to be my thing. And so we're watching it. And when it starts to creep in, we will whoop, and we like cut the volume, does not fight back or say like, or show any sort of that, like, it's like, okay.
Boy, that's great because I think that's a hard place to get to for some people. And I have been one of those people where if you were to scale me, you could not win. If you scale me, I'm going to be mad. If you don't scale me, I'm going to be mad because I felt as though I was failing the workout if you scale me.
Yeah.
Which is so ridiculous.
So as you're saying that, I think, so I wrote the word down because everything is hard. I think it's a trust, is that it's building that level of trust between the coach and the athlete and the coach, right? Like the athlete to trust us is primary. That it is primarily our job to instill in the athlete through sort of continued experiential bank account deposits in the emotional bank account that they can trust us.
Right.
That what I'm going to say to them is not a lie.
Right.
But it's also trust between that the coach needs to start trusting the athlete, that when they say, like when they're voicing a concern, delineating or discerning between, is that a complaint? Are they really struggling? Are they just need to push up against something?
Is it a fear?
Right. Is it performative? Is it actually expressing that fear? Is there something else? And I think of where we can do a good job with the newbie is ask the next question. Always ask a better question, and not snarkily. Sorry, Kenna.
But I think that's something that's a lot easier in that middle zone of people that's 6 months to a year because you've had time to establish that trust and communication.
Yeah. So that's a good point. So with newbies, and I don't like that word, with people who have yet to kind of experience it and figure out like where they fit in this, then following the program and following a plan. So this is why I like our sort of on-ramp and foundations way we do it is we clearly stay, hey, look, 3 times, 30-minute session. I am never going to be able to teach you everything you need to know. all I'm really want you to get out of this is that you know where to park, you know what to pick up when you walk in the building, and you have a comfort that there will be somebody here who's going to take you through some sort of lesson plan and a 60-minute class. Like, that's it. I just want you to be comfortable with the process, how to arrive, how to be here, how to leave. During that is then your goal is to come to at least 3, optimally 4 classes a week for the first month. And again, that's Jay. Like, at first he was like, I'm going to shoot for 2 days a week. And I was like, okay, I want you to just listen to me. 3 days a week is the secret spot. Like 2 days a week, but 3 days a week, something happens. And then that 4-day week, that's huge when you change. Really see the difference.
Yeah.
But you can only get to 4 days a week if you trust me and see the improvement within that first month, 3 days a week. So what we do, how much we do, how fast you go, how much weight you lift in that first month, none of that matters. In the second month, none of that matters. It really is about establishing the habit of come 3 to 4 times a week, same day each week, it doesn't matter. Different days each week, it doesn't matter. The variance of the program, us as coaches trusting the methodology of the program and the methodology of scale them more than you think you need to, because it doesn't matter if they develop the consistency of always coming.
And that's where you're building the trust.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if you scaled it appropriately, if you set the intention, the expectation kind of low in the sense of like, hey, the win was you showed up. Hey, the win was you got a little sweaty, you got out of breath, you high-fived. Then they will have the moments where they are last. They will have the moments where they are first. They'll have the moments where they're in the middle. They'll have a win here and there. Our job is to pay attention to that and see the win. They won't ever trip that, though I did do this with a couple folks recently. Like, they do something and they can't walk down the stairs, because then that's scary.
Yeah, it is. And do I want to go back?
Right. I was doing this to feel better and I feel worse.
Yeah. How
is that okay?
Right. And we have to pay attention to that. So that begs the question again, when is too much too much?
Right. And if we haven't established that trust of, hey, I hear you, trust me, it will pass. You're like, bullshit.
Right.
You told me this was good for me and I can't sit on my toilet.
And I can't pick up my baby.
Yeah.
This
is
bad.
Not worth it.
Right.
This is dangerous. They were right on the internet.
Don't go on the internet.
So I think that is the transparency of the conversation, establishing the intention, establishing the expectation, and then sort of outsourcing it and saying, hey, look, 3 days a week, right? Like, I don't do the programming. We use people, they give us the program, we curate it but come 3 days a week and give me this first month.
Right.
If at the end of that month, you don't see any difference or you don't like it, then I totally understand it, and no harm, no foul. It was a great thing. But if somebody actually does that, I've yet to have somebody just like evaporate and never show back up.
Because something happens.
Yeah. And that way they establish their own trust of listening to their body, knowing like, ooh, that doesn't feel right, because it doesn't feel like what we did the 12 times before. This feels different. This feels like it actually kind of hurts. Oh, and now we like their feedback to us as the athlete is like, ooh, okay, because I'm trusting what they're saying, not like, this is really hard, right? Like,
no,
yes.
Then it's different because they've got context for that conversation.
Yeah.
And they've watched all the other athletes in their class who have all their own stuff, and you're less of an island then.
Yeah. So we move into the 6 month. Oh, actually, so let's say it's somebody who I've been injured before, right? I played semi-pro ball, baseball, and I threw out my shoulder. I used to collegiate crew at a pretty high end, and I have a really bad back. Like, fill in all these blanks. How would you handle that athlete? Would you handle that athlete any differently?
I think Only in the sense that I would want to have a conversation that the expectation should be where you are now.
Oh, I like that.
You are not the person you were then. You've had a lot of life experience since then. So that's good. Those are great memories. Enjoy them. But let's start here and move forward.
Right. I feel like we should write that down, because that may be the same conversation that we should have with the long-term athlete.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding.
Well,
No
I have a
kidding.
score for Fran from 3 years ago,
When I was 3 years younger.
and I can't get that anymore. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah. You're 3 years older. So I do think you need to have that conversation. There are some advantages from being a brand new person who did not have that
Yeah.
elite athletic background, because your expectations are so low.
Hear that sailor with their first trip to Tijuana.
Yeah.
Everything's a party.
Everything's new and it's all fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you've got someone who's got some high-end athletic experience, I think you do have to do a little bit of calibration and just reset.
Yes. And they're often the most dangerous athletes for a coach, because they have the most potential to hurt themselves.
To go
There's
too hard,
there's
too
a
fast.
Switch. They
Yep.
know how to push it. They know.
But if they've
remember.
been injured before, then there's that additional piece. I don't want to be injured again. I know what that feels like. It was debilitating in some way. It negatively impacted my life.
Yeah.
I don't want that again. How do we avoid that?
Yeah.
And then we talk about scaling and paying attention.
Yeah.
And, all the things that we do to give you that custom experience, so that you're working on you. You're not working on anybody else in the room.
Yeah. I like that. Today, you're working on you
Today.
and then we'll see what tomorrow looks
Right.
like. We'll work on you tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so the 6 month to 1 year athlete, right? They know the language, hopefully.
Yep. What's a thruster? Yeah. They are a little tricky, I think.
I think, right. And actually, and statistically, because numbers do offer insight into patterns, and patterns offer insight into behavior, and behavior offers insight into motivation, blah, 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 right? It's that whole psychological behavior modification loop, that the numbers suggest that a gym, us as a small example of that, lose most people within the first 6 months. That if they're going to stick, they stick within the first, if they can make it past that 6 months, you percentage wise go up significantly in retention. Oddly, 9 months is then the next, like, oh gosh, are they going to make it or not? And then weird 18 outside
Really?
of moving, major life changes, whatever. Yeah. 18 months is the next one.
So what is the rationale behind those points? Is it?
I have no idea. I mean, that's not true. I know that before 6 months, it's because the last time somebody sat down and talked to them was at the end of foundations.
Right. And
maybe so we even do, birthdays and every 6 month anniversary of the birthday, but we also have that 2 month check-in. And it's to just say, because if they make it through the first month, clearly we're going to talk to them, and then they're like, all right, cool, I like this, I'll give it a shot. At the end of that second month, it's like, okay, you've been doing this now for 2 months. What's your plan? What's this look like to get you to 6 months?
Right.
Or the next time we have a programmed in, we're going to sit down and chat. Because then when we sit down at the 6 month, now they're into this category of like, okay, how are we going to get you that pull up? Because, right, if you listened to last week, I want to lose weight, I want to get stronger, I want to do a pull up.
Yeah.
Because those are all really cool things. But 6 month mark, I'm not seeing any numbers come off the scale. I haven't increased in any of my lifts yet, and I still don't have that pull up.
And you're much more aware of what everyone else in the class is doing.
Yeah. So that is what makes the 6 monther to the 1 year.
That first 6 months, you're just hanging on.
Yeah.
But then you start noticing the people who are about your age.
That was a great face.
Oh.
That's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why? So now this is your ego that you were not
Absolutely.
your, but the ego.
The ego,
absolutely.
absolutely. And it requires taking a hard look at yourself. Am I optimizing my opportunities? Am I paying attention to nutrition? Am I sleeping? Am I overdoing it on the weekends? I mean, what am I doing that's either sabotaging or facilitating improvement?
So in this case, are you listening to your body or simply avoiding hard things? isn't actually all the time about the stuff that we're doing in the gym, but more the hard things of, okay, you've decided to incorporate this movement practice into your life, but have you decided to also take a look at the hard things of
Your lifestyle.
your lifestyle?
Mhm.
Yeah, I didn't think about it that way. And that is, it's about the 6-month mark that somebody who's like, you know what? Nah, it's not worth it to me. I'm going to do something
And I
else.
haven't really lost any weight. And on
Yeah,
Saturday mornings, if
yeah.
I've gone out Friday night, I don't really enjoy that workout.
Huh.
Yeah.
So the hard thing isn't the cherry picking of the workouts, right? The hard thing is, are you willing to, we have our relationship with Christine at, performance therapy. Am I going to get that, wonky hip looked at?
Right.
Am I checking out that, like, well, my knee always hurts when I sit in a certain direction. And I know it's not my, my quad, or I know it's not my shoulder, because that's just ridiculous. And then you go there and they're like, well, actually, you can't even lift your hand over your head. So every time you're in this position, your right knee is taking all the strain. So that might be why your right knee hurts.
So what you're saying is, at that point, it's a next level of commitment.
Yes.
It's not just committing to show up.
I feel like that's the hard, yeah. That's the hard thing. And then that manifests in, we pick the villain that is the easiest one to blame.
Absolutely, it's low-hanging fruit.
Running.
Yeah.
Cardio, whatever category, like you cliche categorize it however you want, but that's
the devil. It's not the details over here. That's the thing.
And that's totally the narrative you see is, well, this doesn't work for me. This
I tried.
It was really hard. I actually heard it a couple times today. Yeah, my schedule got the best of me, and so I just, it's been tough to come in these last couple weeks. And
well, unless you're physically out of town.
And even then, we have other people who, before they're walking out the door, they're like, hey, man, I'm traveling the next 3 weeks. What can I do? And I'm like, I'm so glad you asked. I will forward you the programming if you want it. Or I'm just going to give you access to Off the Creek for this week.
Which is so easy.
And it's, Amy writes the warm-ups for those. It's for our virtual clients. But if I have an in-gym client who's taking a couple days and weeks away, use the Off the Creek stuff.
And if you're in a hotel, we have got great options for hotel. If you're just in a place where you're doing body weight workouts, no problem.
And that's right. Like, just like you said, that feels, for some of us, that is a hard thing to do, because you have to, while on that trip, say, you got to kind of be the nerd and be like, hey, I'm going to go do the, oh man, we're on vacation. I thought this was going to be our vacation time. And you're not going to be like, hey, look, like, we're still eating.
Right.
Like, we're on vacation, but we're still putting food in our mouth. Like, I don't understand. Like, I'm on vacation. I'm not going to eat and go to the bathroom anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
it's part of your
I'm
lifestyle.
still taking a shower.
Right.
Like, I don't understand.
So, and then when you've missed time and you try to come back, it's so hard.
Then the ego shows back up. Yeah. Now we're the newbie again. And now those fears of, I don't want to be last. Everybody expects me to be a certain way. And look at that. So it is actually, I think the 6 month to 1 year folks, you think you nailed it. It's so potent because it hasn't been cemented into your identity yet.
Right.
That if it is hard and that's the hard thing you run away from, it's so easy to let it go. So
easy to just say it wasn't for me.
Versus, I'll use Joe, and this really didn't happen until him for a year. And I know I have confidence that he would be comfortable. I'll ask him before. It's on Friday before we release it. But he and I had a great conversation. He was so excited, and it's working wonders. Highly recommend the Olympic weightlifting program that Eric runs. It teaches so much more about just body mechanics and movement and body awareness and aesthetic or kinesthetic awareness. Joe was spending extra time on the weekends doing that without thinking how much that would impact the rest of the week. And so by Tuesdays and Wednesdays, he looks like, roadkill. And he's like, and I was like, well, what did you do this weekend? Well, I I came to Saturday's WOD, and then I did the Sunday weightlifting. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
I know what you guys did on Sunday. Why are you here?
So that's an example of, that's when you listen to your body.
Yes. And he is such a good coachable athlete. They went, okay, well then what should I do?
Right.
Like, what should my schedule be? And so we made it a real easy. All right, if you're adding a 90-minute session on the weekend, you owe me at least 90 minutes of straight up recovery. That's like 2 full days. Yes. And so he would take a Monday extra off and he would take Thursday extra off, I think is what we ended up doing. And it worked out great. And he's moving incredibly. Like, that's the big change.
And that's there's another piece of ego, because it's the FOMO. Are they going to do something fun? I'm not going to miss it. I don't want to miss anything fun.
I think that's where we get into the long-time CrossFitter.
Yes.
Starts that there's 2 paths that they can kind of go. And I think also in that 6 month to 1 year, there's the injury as a result of doing this new thing called CrossFit happens. For the longest time as a coach, that scared the crap out of me, because there was a zero-sum game. It had to be infinitely safe, and it had to get results.
Right.
So, but the second somebody was injured, then they can't get results. And I was not looking at the right, like, no. The results are they're showing up. The results are that they're here. The results are that they're consistently coming. I don't care about all these other results. Well, no. They need to get a PR every time they lift.
No.
They need to be improving on these benchmarks.
No.
It had to be. And so I would push people too far, too fast, and they would get injured. And I'd be like, this is impossible. It is impossible when you don't realize, look, injuries are going to happen. If we were basketball players or pickup hockey players
or runners, for Pete's sake.
Right?
Yeah.
That's actually in that Ohio study that CrossFit won the suit against the NSCA and ASCM. They fudged the data on running. If you're an active runner, statistically speaking, if that's your exercise, over 80% of all active runners are currently running with an injury.
Mm-hmm.
CrossFit is less than 20%. So
it'd be less than.
Right. Like, yeah, it is like by a factor of almost 5 that you are, so 3 point, blah, 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 less percentage-wise CrossFitter times, right? CrossFitters are actually injury prone or are injured compared to running.
Yes. And I think we know a lot more now about how to work with injured athletes.
Exactly. But what I would say is injuries happen.
Sure.
Same with, like, if this was a experimental laboratory, beakers get broken, right? And I'm not saying you got to break a couple eggs to make an omelet. What I'm saying is, okay, great. You tweaked your shoulder. How did that happen? What were we doing? Was it a movement function? Was it did you not listen to your body? Had you not done the mobility and the accessory work that we had talked about? Have you been going too many days in a row? Right? Like, that's where the fear around the injury is ineffective, or is a obstacle as a coach and an athlete, rather than, look, the fear is telling you. That was weird. It sounded like when you listen to headphones, earbuds, and the battery's running out. Battery low, recharge, or you know what I mean? Like that.
I didn't hear that, but
that's
okay.
They were outside. Anyway, I was like, I don't have headphones in, do I? In that 6 months to a year, I feel like one of the biggest obstacles is when the athlete has their first injury, because it's going to happen. It's gonna probably happen, even if it's just like a tweaked back. Somebody had some headaches today, and was afraid to kind of ask the question about it, and I was like, well, no, what's the question? And I was like, oh God, yeah. And it was like the light in the face, just like, oh, okay. I'm like, thank goodness. I thought that was just me. And I'm like, no, like, you know what I'm talking about? Right. You've had them before.
I have.
And for me, it's always the overhead squat.
Yep.
because it's that occipital bone or the occipital muscle
yeah.
up into the, the cranium, and it flows down into the trap. And then it just is like, oh my God, I think I just ruptured my brain.
Yeah.
I think I'm having
I had a stroke right here in the gym.
It's like, no. It's just a tension headache.
But they need to know that.
Right. But we won't, I can't say like everything that's going to happen. Like, hey, there may be a day where you run and your knee gets sore because you're being too quad dominant, or hey, on deadlift day, like you may strain your back. Like, hey, bending over to pick up the towel you drop in the kitchen, you're going to probably strain something at some point in your life.
Have you ever pulled something in your sleep?
Yes. Usually it's either my shoulder. Good question. Yeah.
So if you can do that in your sleep, it's not unlikely that might happen in the gym.
So I think that tacking that onto it, like you said, in that 6 month to 1 year, their biggest issue is the ego is on its way. Like they've done a great job of not suppressing, but like of not paying attention to the ego, being like, okay, he's told me I'm new. She's told me I'm still new. I'm still new. Okay. And then it's like, I've been doing this long enough. Like I should be as good as her. I should be lifting as much as him. Oh, yes. I should be right. And it's like the ego is like, hey, I've been patiently hanging out over here. I haven't been giving you a hard time. I'm back, motherfucker.
Yeah.
What you got 100%.
Now?
100%. And God forbid you get an injury. See, we told you this was dangerous. You don't belong here.
Well,
you're not
all
an
these
athlete.
new people coming in. You're not the new person anymore.
Yeah.
So you're the experienced one. And
you're the middle child syndrome.
Yeah.
You're not OG. You're not new anymore.
You're middle child.
Who am I?
Yeah, exactly.
Coach doesn't love me.
He doesn't love me anymore. Have you seen that Gordon Ramsay meme where he is how he treats the new athlete? Oh, you're so good. Do you need anything? How can I help you? And looks the older athlete, you effing donkey. It's like, yeah, I was the new person once.
I was new.
Yeah, I'm just a nobody. Donkey.
I don't even have new shoes anymore.
I don't got nothing.
My rope, Sam's rope is like frayed. And I'm like, dude, you need a new rope. He goes, no. I like it. It gives me, it lets me know. And I'm tripping. I'm like, that's just wrong.
That's
like, get a new rope. Like, I'll buy you the new rope.
For Pete's sake. But I do think, and here's the difference with adult athletes. And I'm comparing this to teens and God, these young kids that come in and work with Eric, they have no fear. None. Not at
He actually talked about that last week.
None.
They don't have any baggage.
No.
He comes in and they're doing pull-ups.
Yes.
Because they're like, oh, we're not supposed to be able to do
We don't know how to do that. We thought we did.
Yeah.
Adults know the implications of being injured. Oh, is this going to impact my work, my weekends?
Yeah.
And so you've got this fear before you're even.
I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not that person. I shouldn't be able to, like,
all that stuff's
their
in there.
ego is just like big and deep and entrenched. And so if they've been successful, I like that in that first couple months of keeping it, then it just comes back like
with a vengeance.
Yeah. So, all right. So then I think that's the honest question to yourself. Is this just my ego being petulant and making a final death surge? It never dies, by the way, it never goes away. Or is this I'm really overtraining? And I would say at that point, hopefully we've established a relationship of trust. Ask the coach, right? Like, and that's where I think our athletes do a great job of like, hey, Monique asked the best questions. I've really enjoyed, ever since our check-in, it has just been so fun to coach her with like, okay, I was thinking about da. This is like, she'll say, I was thinking about this. What do you think if and she already has a plan. And I'd be like, ooh, I like that. But what if we, right? And I tweak it, or I'm just so like, great. Game on. Or I'm like, nah, right? Like, but it's like this beautiful kind of give and take. And I hope she sees it and feels it. Like she is.
I watched her double unders today.
Yeah. Like through a plateau. And newsflash, another one is coming. Yeah. Right. Like that's the mastery curve. It's okay.
But when you're talking about the overtraining, I think that's when you can look at sugar WOD and say, well, let's look at your sugar WOD.
Yeah.
You're doing all this. And what are you doing on the weekends? Oh, you swim the bay on the weekends? Maybe that's a little much. Drew. Sorry, Drew.
Not as much anymore. But he's, again, like, so this is a great transition. And I think athletes like the ones we just mentioned, and, you know, Drew is, I think he's the oldest, like he is the oldest child syndrome of, he started in the garage. He was one of the first. We've done this together a long time, and he has ebbed and flowed between what and where and why he's doing it, to the point where he has spent the last 4 months, 5 months, almost 6 months, pre-open, working on his knee pain because he doesn't want surgery. And so he went out and he got a program, and I scoffed at him, and I said,
so diligent.
and I said, any program works. You need to be consistent with it. And he's like, I will be. Like that. And he said, I know what I need, because he did that before with double unders.
Yep.
And it worked because he got a program, because for him, he learned at like the 3-year mark, he needs some other stimulus to make him consistent. If he's consistent, then it works. And what I learned as a coach through him, which was awesome, was when he came to me and said, do you know if you tell your athletes to keep their elbows in tight and to jump tall and spin their wrists, that they'll probably really improve their double unders? And I think when he saw me going for a sharp object to jam into his throat, he went, oh, you've told me that before, haven't you?
Once or
so
twice.
I learned it doesn't matter what I say as a coach. And when the athlete finally hears it, as long as they hear it.
Right.
If it comes from you, if it comes from Eric, if it comes from the person in the box next to them,
Right.
I don't care. He finally heard it. So this program has been amazing, because the guy that he's using keeps telling him similar things that we've said with a slight little tweak. But in the end, it is still the same stuff we're saying. And so he, being a level 1 certified trainer and being a longtime athlete, is making the connections and then bringing them back to me. So there's an excitement to it. He's seeing results.
And he's consistent.
So I think the longtime CrossFitter, what their biggest challenge to understanding, when do you listen to your body and when do you take it easy versus when do you simply avoid doing the hard things, is when you forgot what it is that, it's like the Rocky 3 moment, right? Like you're training in the hotel with like you've had successes and you think those successes are the thing that you were going for. You forgot that, no, the process is the thing. And that's, again, you're right, you nailed it. That is the ego, again, making a death throw of like, oh, you thought you got me again? No. You need gold medals. You need the blue ribbon. We need the validation.
Yeah.
And it never satisfies the itch.
Which is why those longtime athletes, we have to find ways to allow them to be new again.
Yeah.
To be willing to revisit and be new again.
Yeah. And the funny, I'm finding now, having done this over a decade, both as coach and athlete, it isn't actually, new things aren't the thing that makes being new again. It really is set and setting. It is intention. It is just doing things. Like, I thought it would be accessory. I'm still programming it because I come back to it every now and then, but it's one workout, 45 to 60 minutes. And it's just play, play with it. So I didn't come back for today's classes because I got mentally lost on the walk.
Not physically lost.
I was jealous. I had FOMO, the sidewalk that's around Brumar now. I hadn't walked on it yet. And Drew was like, that sidewalk's a game changer when I'm walking the dogs. I was like, oh, I want to walk on the new sidewalk. And so I took the dogs that way. And then I made the curve and I was like, just walking down Bay Ridge. And I was like, oh shit, it's going to take me like another 20 minutes.
Straight
I know, 30 minutes to get home. So anyway, so I just knocked it out in the garage, but it was the same stuff I would have done here. But because I was by myself, I had zero desire to do a barbell. So I did a goblet squat with the kettlebell. I had zero desire to do double unders. I'm not saying as an athlete that I don't also need maintenance with dumbbell unders, but I'm saying as an athlete, I've done my fair share of 1,000,000+ double unders that I could go 6 months without ever doing them and I will be just fine. I didn't want to put that strain on my knee. And so it's these things, as a person who's been an athlete who's been doing this a very long time, messing around with that stuff.
So for a long time CrossFitter who's in the gym, that's the athlete that you need to be able to say, you've done a lot of jumping lately. Your knees may need a break today.
Yeah.
Why don't you think about doing something
Just
else?
do this.
You know how to double under.
And so the athlete's requirement is to say, honestly, right? It almost really does start to become more of an emotional game. No, I really want to do this because I want that. I know what those are going to feel like. And I want that. Or, okay, yeah, let me see what that feels like. Being willing to honestly say like, hey, I know I like certain foods, right? And I'm okay eating those same things every single day. But I'm also open to somebody challenging me and tweaking it a little bit. Taking that same example of like, I know I like certain types of workouts, but I'm also okay from time to time being challenged with something outside of that comfort zone. That is, I think, how those athletes, it is actually an uncomfortable feeling for the longtime athlete to get the chance to feel like a newbie again, because they forgot that feeling like the newbie is not nice.
No,
it's not a good feeling.
It's
like
challenging.
It's not like if they were actually that newbie again, they would remember just how scary it was.
Comfortable.
Exactly.
It's not comfortable
and
at all.
Then that's the road to empathy, because now they're like, oh, and then they turn to it and be like, I'm so happy to see you here. I'm so glad you're here and new. If it's truly you've overtrained and it's your body, you'll be like, oh, this makes sense, that I need to take the break.
Right.
If it is just you're avoiding doing hard things, that's the moment you go, oh, I just don't want to be challenged. No. I don't want to be scared.
And that requires some self-evaluation.
I mean, that just made me uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't screw you, CrossFit. Yeah. You don't.
So, but I want to go back to something I thought you were really good at doing on Monday, and it's setting the intention. What are we trying to do here? 100 thrusters, 5 burpees every minute on the minute. That should have been a train wreck
for all of us. Yeah.
And because you'd written and blogged about it and talked about it, and then we as coaches talked about it in a similar way in our classes, everybody got a win.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't so fun to coach. That was fun I'm glad I looked that far ahead and thought about it. As an athlete, there was a moment in the 4th or 5th round I said, I'm going to do the first 50 in 5s, like non-negotiable. It has to be. And then I only did 8. I only did the first 40 in 5.
Don't be married to your plan.
Well, no. And I changed it before I started because the warm up felt good. And it made the math easier to then do the 15, 15, 15, 15 in the 6s and 9s and 7s and 8s. About 4 into the 5s, I was like, I feel all right. I should do it. And that was when, whoa. You've not completed this twice. You've DNF'd this workout twice.
Really? Oh, see, I didn't know you had history with Cal.
First time I did it was at Old Bay. There was a handful of like former Old Bay people, former Annapolis people, whatever. And we did it. And we put a 45-minute time cap on us. And I got like 80 something into it. And I would use 135 because I can do 135-pound thrusters. I've been doing blah.
My ego tells me.
Oh,
yeah. All day long.
There were rounds where I wouldn't even do the burpees. I just took a full minute rest.
Gosh.
Then I would do like 3 burpees and be like, well, I'm not going to be able to finish these and get any thrusters. So I'm just going to stop now. Right. Like it was a mess. Flash forward a couple of years, we're on vacation up at Cape Cod. I stopped in at one of the boxes up there and they had it programmed. And I immediately am like, this is a workout. It's dumb. This is such a dumb workout. But of course, I put 135 on the bar, and they time capped it at 30. And I only ended up, I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to do, at one point, I was like, I'm just going to do half Kalsu. I was there with my brother-in-law, and he scaled it to like, a bar, because he was like, this is really hard.
Yes, it's
and
hard.
I don't care. And
Yeah.
he was pretty new. So I go through it, and I got like into 30 or 35, and it was just a shit show. So I stripped it, went to 95 pounds, maybe did like 30 or 40 more, still didn't finish, time capped. And I was just like, okay, well, I'm never doing that workout again.
Yeah.
That is a dumb workout.
Yeah.
And so when I saw it, I was like, interesting. So the goal was just finish, and whatever that looked like. And so I picked a weight I knew I could move correctly and well. And it was. And guess what? You saw it. Those last couple rounds were really hard.
They were hard, but
totally
you did them.
doable.
But you did them.
And if I never do that workout RX, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like it.
Well done.
Right? Like
well done.
It was just fun. And that was the setting. Like it should be fun. And it was fun to do it with 5 and 6 and 7 and do it in the 9:30 class and read 5:15 and 6:15's comments. And I was like,
which totally changed your perspective on that workout.
That's what this fitness thing is. Oh, all right.
Because none of us are going to the games.
Right.
None here.
Decade. I've been doing this a decade.
Yeah.
Remember it, forget it.
Yeah.
Remember it, forget it. Like over and over and over again.
But if we had sold it as this is the hardest workout you're ever going
Right.
to do, you may not finish it and you may hate it.
Right. No, nobody wins.
Totally changed. People felt great. They did 100 thrusters.
Right. And then they did 105 front squats today.
Yeah.
2.
I know.
TOO, right?
Yeah,
like,
also
so,
in addition to.
And so I think that's where you are allowed to listen to your body and know, like Sam has been doing a great job as an athlete of like saying out loud, I want today to be active recovery. And so we are in a good system of like, I look at him and I say, okay, great. Then what I want you to do, because he stripped the bar back to 45. And I was like, ooh, what's that? And so he's doing it. And I'm like, we got rid of the front squats completely. And he rode the echo instead of front squats, because by him saying it out loud, he's giving me permission to say, then you are not going to do this.
Yep.
And now he has taken the responsibility by saying it out loud. And by doing that is asking, I need help. And so then my job is to come in and offer him that help in a way that alleviates the responsibility of him having to like make all the choices.
And that's one thing that I think new people have a hard time doing, is saying it's because we want to finish. Everybody wants to finish.
Yes.
Maybe today we're going to knock back the numbers.
Yeah. And
just keep moving.
And then that is, I like the way of the goal or the how. So newbies, just consistency.
Yeah, just want you here.
I don't even like it is just show up.
Yeah.
What you do, how much you do, how it feels. I don't care about any of that. Just show up. That 6 months to a year, know your ego is going to make a new, they're going to reintroduce itself to you.
Mm-hmm.
And now your job is you have the opportunity to not compare yourself to anybody else and to reestablish, okay, what do I really want out of this? And then it looks like the long-term folks is find opportunities to be new again. And what that means is, do you enjoy the process?
Right.
Are you willing to never have a quote unquote win again? Another PR.
And maybe we reframe what wins look like.
Exactly. Well, somebody said it today, which was awesome, about the emojis of how disappointing. But she was awesome. That was such a great comment.
Because she felt great about her workout.
Right. And she wanted to brag. And so I was really, I was so like that. I really loved hearing that. And then being available for her to brag right then. And rightfully so. Right.
She's
like
great.
That was an awesome, like, for us, I think as the coaches too, and designing this, like, it's working.
It's working, which is huge. I'm so enjoying being able to. It's training day. Today we're training.
Yeah. Yeah. And then some sneak in, and then like we're running a 5K in a couple weeks, a couple Mondays from now, not next Monday, Monday after that. So, which
wear your running shoes.
By CrossFit, statistically, 5Ks are the most attended workouts.
Interesting.
Yeah. For most.
Well, we do have some runners who will love to come run.
But like that might be sort of where we just said, like the intervals yesterday or on Tuesday, you're not 5-3-1 back squat. If you don't get your 5 rep max or your 1 rep max on that day, nobody is like, this is stupid. This stuff doesn't work. So if you don't run your fastest 5K ever on that day, who cares?
It's that any given Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, on any given day. What is that saying?
But it's a saw. They're cutting something, but what are they working on? Where are they?
I don't know.
Sounds like they're in our locker room.
It does sound like I'm walking around.
Should probably check that out.
Mhm.
Well, this is cool. Good call on the it's ego. I wrote that we never really, the idea of like life comes in, but that I think permeates through all of it. And we did talk about that. Like it's just the manifestation of another excuse of, well, that's the 6 month to 1 year person of like, it's been real busy. Stuff just kind of keeps getting in the way. It's like, well.
And that's the motivation versus commitment piece. If
Yeah.
you need external motivation,
that's when you're simply avoiding doing the hard
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did talk about that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Notes work from time to time. Not
Glad you had
always
some.
Yeah. I'm not always a schedule follower, but I like that. I actually, on Brene Brown's interview with Tim Ferriss and Dax Shepard at the same time,
So good.
I liked that question that she asked them about, are you a note person? Are you an agenda person? And it totally fit
Absolutely.
that is their style. And I will say it de-escalated my frustration as for Dax as an entertainer with his podcast, that he goes, and I know people complain that I put myself too much into the interviews. Well, guess what? That's because you think this is an interview. It's not. This is a conversation that I would have with this person, whether I had a microphone running or not.
I loved to hit that perspective.
And I was like, oh, and I've been listening. I just listened to the Jessica Biel interview.
I haven't heard that
It totally makes sense now.
Yeah.
And it's like listening to him again when it started, because he never changed.
No.
It was just my expectation as a listener that he should be doing it a certain way.
Right.
Because he does do it sometimes when they have experts on experts, or when he has some of his other, there's the conspiracy theory ones, which he's just playing.
Yeah, he's having a great time on those.
So he has shown that he has, as an artist and as a professional, has significant interviewing skills.
Absolutely.
So when he goes to his other version or side, that's when I was like, oh, well, he's not doing it as good. It's like, well, no, it's his show,
intentional,
his art, and it's intentional. So yeah.
And I think for a lot of people, when they do that, they're trying to make connections. They're trying to show you that
he gets right. The guests love it. They lean into it. So yeah. So that was a great interview, but it was funny. And then Tim Ferriss is like, oh no, I have notes.
Lots of notes. And that's totally was appropriate for him.
Yeah. With multiple branch plans.
Yes.
And stuff. But then Tim Ferriss always has his rapid fire questions at the end.
I love those.
So again, it fits because it fit for them, that they were aware of what their version of this medium was going to be. I feel like that's the tie-in. This is our version of, if somebody asks, when do you listen to your body and take it easy and simply avoiding, or is it simply avoiding hard things? This is our version here on the creek of, like, you could probably find that answer in 1,000 different places. I think for us, what we see our population is, we are dealing with not so much more ego than anybody else, but we've created a place where people feel so comfortable letting that go. And then we get surprised
when it shows
back up.
Because they're humans.
Right.
Yeah. Nobody wants to be the one who's lifting less than they could before.
Yeah.
And it just happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're here to move. We're just here to move.
We're here to, we're here to really just like each other.
Yeah.
And love each other.
So that's been one of the cool things. So one of the foundations people that I'm working with. So once the 3 things.
Yeah.
But she said, really, I should lump together the pull up with the getting strong, because I'm really looking for community. And I said, oh.
You asked her what are the 3 things?
Yeah.
Oh, well done.
Yeah,
you were testing. You're doing some experimentation.
I was. And I'm asking one more question.
Nice.
And looking for community.
That's cool.
I think COVID and being isolated for long, people are looking for
Yeah.
what it feels like to be part of it.
And you can't sell it. That I think Fern and Jason Ackerman, the best hour of their day, do say I cannot commodify
No,
community because it's weird and kind of creepy.
it feels yucky.
Because I'm paying for friends then. But it's also organic. So I think what we've done a better job is of saying like valuing, like it truly is designed to be smaller. Like we are not in the business. I mean, we've picked a place. We are hammed in by space. Like I don't have anywhere else to go. I don't have the staff, which I don't want. We don't have the room in the gym with how it's laid out to have more than 12 to 15 people at most in class.
Nobody gets lost.
And that's, I think, I don't want the 8,000 square foot space. We want like what they are, the value that is offered is you are known.
Yeah.
Like that. And so.
And we know when you're not here.
Right. And I can't, and that's not to say other facilities, other CrossFit gyms don't do that as well. I know that is something that we offer as a value.
Well, and I'm just thinking of when you go to a college class and you're at a 101 level class and it's in an auditorium and there are 400 students, you are easily lost.
And maybe I know people that go to Penn State and they like it. That's what they wanted. They wanted the big college experience. I know there are people that want the big CrossFit 8,000 square foot.
But they know they're not going to find it here because they can see how big we are.
And that actually had a couple of people pop in for free intros and the conversation of like, I think I really want a competitive environment. And I outright said, I said, well, you might not find it here, and that's okay. I highly recommend going and shopping around. Go drop in at the other places and see if they are a better fit. I haven't heard back from any of those people, which is, I'm actually kind of glad about that because it saves them time and it saves us time and it's the right thing to do. If you're okay coming to a marina and having to fight for parking, but when you're done the workout, you are looking out over the water.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
That's pretty great. Well, the way you get that is you have to be okay that you might not leave at the exact time you want to leave because they're moving a boat. Right. Like,
and we can't be all things to all people, or should we?
Yeah. So I don't know how we got onto this topic, but yeah, that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
My gratitude, I'm gonna narrow it down. It's Jay. He has been so much freaking fun. After that first 7 minutes of wall balls and burpees, I was like, he's never coming back. That's it.
I'm so glad he came back.
I'm like the second time I've ever coached somebody. That's it. And he came back and he keeps moving well and he smiles and he's like, okay. Every time I ask him to say, okay.
Love it.
Like I always kind of feel like he's like, you're batshit crazy, but okay. Like that's what I feel like is coming next. But yeah, ton of fun. He drives a Tesla. I love it. It makes like spaceship noises when it's pulling out. It was the coolest thing ever. He's cool. And yeah, so he is definitely this week. He makes me smile. And every time it is a great addition and fit for that 7 a.m. So that's my
awesome.
gratitude. Yeah.
Mine's easy this week. I got to this past weekend have all my kids in one place for the first time since Christmas of 2018, which is longer than 2 years.
When you said 19, I was like, man, that's long. And then when you came out, you're like, no.
It was 18. They informed me that it was 18 and they were right. I think I couldn't process that. It was so great. It was so great. And then I got to have Carrie come Monday morning, which is always
that was fun. I can't believe she's going to be on a 747 train.
She had a 747 train and came to the 5 a.m. workout.
That was awesome.
A little hairy on the other end, but that was okay.
Very cool. And I liked her picture post. Repost. I was like, man, the gym looks good.
It did look good.
That's a really cool shot.
Yeah.
We got a cool place.
Yeah, we do have a cool place. I love our place.
All right. That was fun.
It was fun. Thanks for asking.
Yeah. Thanks for saying yes. And we will see you
on the creek.
Well done.